Hey everyone, I've really been looking forward to coming back to continue my discussion and my stories about my visions. Now I've taken a really long pause from the actual story itself to reflect on uh, how I feel about it, how it's weighed in on my life and things like that. And so my last few videos, I'm really talking more about how it affects my life and the negative impact it's had, at least in this area where I feel like I was tricked into meeting somebody that didn't reciprocate, like kind of like a middle school prank, telling me this guy has a crush on me, then you go meet him. And it just really ends up slapping me in the face with this whole confrontation of what my mental condition may be, basically because okay, it seems like I had a prophetic vision that wasn't useful. Say it was useful. And I've mentioned this before. Let's say I met the guy and everything worked out and we were at least really good friends. Doesn't necessarily mean, had to go any further than that, right? No one would think I was crazy. But because I didn't make the connection, it seems like it's something that's always made me look bad, and because I've shared it maybe with some of the wrong people. So anybody that's known me personally has seen me go through this and has heard a lot about it, and I just feel like it's kind of a relationship wrecker. It kind of makes me feel like people have lost respect for me, or people just think I'm crazy because of this, like. And so that's kind of like one way it's impacted me, and that's kind of why I came here to live with Rosie, because she's not one of those people. I feel like she was much more helpful to me. We never really solved it entirely. The reason it's so difficult to solve is because I can't actually, just be friends with Bill Lieb and talk to him all I want. I mean, I've written to him about all this stuff. He knows this whole thing, but like, I really don't know what to expect. So I feel like I've given up on ever seeing him ever again or hearing from him ever again. And something I have to accept, because I guess part of me was looking forward to it, and so that's where, you might think I'm delusional if I ever thought there's any chance I can look forward to at least being friends with Bill, or I can look forward to anything. And I think a lot of that's because I haven't been working on music. I feel like if I had been working on music instead of all this other stuff, it'd be a different scenario as well. So that's another thing I've been hoping to fix, is get on my music project and work on the music and see, if I was the musician I thought I could be or whatever, because I like to think Bill Lieb is in my visions to kind of remind me to stay interested in music, for example. And so anyways, I want to share a little bit. I don't know if we can see these in this dim room, but this camera works really well. I've shared these pictures before, but just again, I feel like there's two sides to me. I have a martial arts side. That's over here. Those are my Shaolin people. I tested the second black in 2007. About a week after we took this picture at the concert where I got to see Bill Lieb, and we all went to the church. So now this is a picture of me and my dad in 1998. So this is like I went down to Key West to see him for Christmas and New Year's, and you see, so like 1998 is the year I was talking about. I went to meet Bill Lieb and everything went wrong, and so this is just a couple months later from that, and so like my dad is probably about a year or so younger than I am now, so I'm like 48 going on 49 this year. He's and in this picture, this is 2007. This is about 9 years later. Bill Lieb is about a year or so older than I am right now. So Bill's probably about 49 going on 50, maybe 50 going on 51. Anyways, but so these guys are real close in age in these pictures, so it's kind of fun to show you the some of the parallels with me and Bill Lieb and my father. So, I kind of had this little joke that I have two dads. I have a biological father, but then I have my techno daddy, and I say that because rumor has it, and Bill Lieb has been a sugar daddy. And you see these women, they want to meet the nice guy without them any. Well, I just want to meet a nice guy with lots of synthesizers. But I always it wouldn't be so bad to have a friend like Bill Lieb to be my music teacher. Like kind of like he had Kevin Key to be his music teacher. And then look at Chris and Cozy, and she's making her own music. And you know what? She gets to go to her husband, Chris Carter, like the ultimate synthesizer guru, with all her questions. That'd be great. I wouldn't mind that so much. So anyways, and the difference is, of course, my father practically sacrificed his life for me, right? My parents have sacrificed their life so I could live, you know? And they've done a lot more for me than anyone else, and I definitely appreciate and value them. Whereas Bill Lieb is more of a, well, he's an acquaintance of mine, so he only knows me because I've gone to his concerts. And he knows I've been listening to his band for a long time. And stuff like that. And he knows everything I've been sharing. And so I really appreciate him for, you know, he's pretty much said, hey, you're always welcome to call, you're always welcome to write, you know, that type of thing. So even after I've shared all this stuff with him, he's not ever said anything harsh to me, but I've had a lot of people that have really jumped on my case. So that's where I feel like that's where it brings suffering. But anyways, when I look at, you know, what's this trying to tell me? You know, if it's not helping me find my old friend and it's not doing me any good in that way, you know, then what else is it trying to tell me? And so in my last video I was saying, well, I feel like I just keep getting this message, you know, from all these people, Jody, you're crazy. You need professional help. You this, you that, blah, 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 blah. And it kind of sucks to think, it's like, is that really the only reason I had to go and meet Bill Lieb, is just to have his wife and all these people try to convince me that I'm just mentally ill? And, you know, especially like that mean girlfriend, you know, like, and have her tell me, oh yeah, just so you know, Bill Lieb said about you, he said you're just fat, ugly, and stupid, so he don't even like you at all, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, that's just a bunch of bullshit. Like, and I shouldn't even pay any attention to all these people, right? But like, is that really the only message that I'm supposed to get from going to him? Like, come on. I mean, you'd hope I get something better for it. Like, that's why I like to think, oh, okay, maybe this is to like tell me to, you know, stay interested in music, stay part of, you know, this is my martial arts family, this is my music family, and my dad brought me up with the music that I feel connected to, you know. So I don't think we have the best music in the world, and we definitely don't have the best music scene in the world. And so that's where, you know, when I want to really get down to what the problem is like, has the problem been me? Has the problem been my mental condition? Has the problem been these people, my dad, Bill Lieb, you know? And really, I think the problem is just how people are in general. So it's a word that some people say is overused, but I'm going to say it's narcissism, really. And there's just a general sense of narcissism that's out there. That's just part of how we behave, you know. And everyone's kind of guilty of narcissism in one way or another. And so I feel like I've watched a lot of good videos on YouTube. So like, I haven't taken classes. I'm like not going to college, but I'm getting an education about the psychology that pertains to my situation, like scapegoat abuse and stuff like that. So I kind of feel like, you know, that's probably it, is that I've been like a scapegoat in my family. And it's because it's like when we get right back to the bottom of it, it's like our family had a narcissistic system to it, you know. And so that's the reason why, you know, someone's going to be at the bottom end of that. And I feel like that'd be like me and my mom, you know. And so by going to meet Bill Lieb and his wife, I encountered there in like 98, that story I've been kind of reflecting on. And that's kind of when we first really spoke to each other ever. And it went really badly, you know, because you know, I wrote this letter and I was really scared to write. So I actually took LSD and wrote this letter to Bill Lieb to tell him, you know. And the reason I wrote this letter, because again, I had another vision where Rosie called me up and told me I should write him if I ever want to see him again. And I'm like, I fucking hate writing. I hate it so much. It's like my least favorite subject in school. You know, I'm more of an artist than a mathematician. I'm not a writer. But I took the LSD and I convinced myself to write the letter and get it done before I was come down from it. Maybe that way I could kind of blame it. But truth is with or without the LSD, I really wanted to write the letter. Maybe it's like those people that get drunk and do something they really wanted to do and then blame it on the alcohol. So same thing. I don't know. So I think my handwriting went crazy. I can't remember exactly what I said to him, but I just basically let him know. I think I remembered him from growing up, but I kind of think it could have been a vision too. And but he was my boyfriend, And I don't know like how I put it, but to me like it's not important that I find a relationship there, but I definitely thought maybe I should try to join his band or maybe make friends with him so he could teach me how to make my own music or how to help him, and so I don't know like what exactly I said in there, but like I felt like it just gave them good ammunition to call me crazy with. And so the wife, it seemed like me, him, and his wife were like right there. And before that, like she came up after the show and asked for my contact information. I thought she was somebody trying to make friends with me. I thought she could be the band manager. And so and she was like right here. She started whispering something in Bill's ear and stuff. I tried to invite both of them to my place so that way it would look like I'm just trying to get him by himself. Because I heard somebody go, "Don't let that psycho bitch take you home," blah blah blah. So I thought, maybe get her to come too. And I just like, all three of us were right there, like in hugging distance practically. And like we could have had a good talk. We could have resolved everything right then and there. But because we didn't, because it was all whispering in ears and, and they tried to like, bail on me. We just didn't communicate. That's the whole problem. And then I thought Bill Lee wanted me to come down to the hotel room and I tried to go down there and so I don't know if he really wanted me to come down there, if I got the wrong idea, but then I got labeled a stalker. And so it just, it escalated. And so I feel like, it made me feel bad. Like, I don't really feel like I deserve those things. Like, I don't think I deserve to be called that, but like, but the reason it escalated is because I do have a bad temper, and I was also confused at the same time with the next things that are going to happen, as we're going into 2000, some of the things that were happening were confusing, but I was on the internet. They had a band website and I was trying really hard to get through to Bill and he wasn't. And instead, I just had a bunch of people laughing at me, so it just escalated to where, I just feel like I became the notorious fan, for that. In fact, I brought it up on Facebook, I kind of made up this funny little song and stuff, and somebody came on and he remembers the whole thing. He's like, "Oh yeah, it's right, you're Bill Stalker, it's like, thanks to you, he's written all these songs." And he's like, "Oh yeah, here's your victim." But he was laughing with me, like, because he realized, they're making, this is something that narcissists will do, right? They will make themselves look like the victim, like everything that happened that night, the way they were whispering around me, kind of what you call creating flying monkeys, getting all these people to take sides with the wife and so like, the more I learn, I'm like, oh my God, that's what they were doing. I feel like, oh my God, that's all it is. It's a narcissistic system. And it's all because I think Bill Lee was taking an interest in other women. Maybe his wife was, trying to like stop him from meeting certain women and I was one of them. And so I don't know, I'm kind of flattered if she thought she had to stop me, but I just don't understand why, like, we were all standing there and we couldn't talk. So like we kind of left with all these misunderstandings. Like the next year I heard somebody going, "Oh look, there's the girl that was trying to get Bill Lee in bed," like, so so that's what they thought I was there to do, and so it works out great for him because like, if his wife's like on his ass because he's doing something he shouldn't be doing, having me show up and take all the blame, made me kind of like the scapegoat in their little narcissistic network. So that way, I'm taking all the blame and he's getting off scot-free, So, maybe that's just my interpretation of that, but I thought, hey, like that's kind of reflective, like, and then running into the fat, ugly, stupid comments and all this stuff. That's like, this is all kind of reflective of, my upbringing, So like I was saying, I moved to the FLA Keys, just of all these wonderful coincidences, because that's ultimately, my life story. And so what they say is when you are like a scapegoat in your family, it kind of carries over into your adult life. And that's why, because like, I don't know, you get patterned in a certain way and it's easy to just, play that role wherever you go. And I started realizing this kind of happens everywhere I go for some reason. And it's happened to me recently when I left Aero Shuttle. I realized the guy was trying to scapegoat me. And it's like, I wish I had better ammunition while we were talking, because there were some things that now in hindsight, I'm like, oh my God, he's a covert narcissist. Everybody loves this guy. I thought he was a cool as fuck guy, and he's a covert narcissist or something. So like that's why, you know, he ended up screaming in my face. Ah! He just didn't want to let me talk and say my truth, because truth is he's ashamed of what I'm about to tell him. So when people are ashamed about things, they'll do everything to shut you up or make you think you don't know what you're talking about. So that's what narcissistic manipulation or gaslighting does. Is like you're like, so like myself, you know, like a lot of times a scapegoat might be somebody who sees things as they are, but the people doing it are embarrassed and they want to make sure this person doesn't tell. So that's kind of what leads up to some of that type of manipulation, trying to make this person learn not to talk, you know, so that I don't go tell people what I've seen and keep that stuff private. So and then like somebody like, you know, going to see like Bill Lee, and that's like small stuff really. I shouldn't even be worried about. It was just, you know, there's just a lot of things that lead up to that, like that'll make sense later. But like just pointing out like how you know, maybe my vision sent me to meet these people. I didn't get what I expected. It almost didn't seem useful, but now I'm like, wait a minute. It kind of makes me reflect on my whole upbringing. That's what I've been talking about here recently. So before I leave the Florida Keys, you know, so I'm also sharing kind of my life story, just because I have out my my photo album. I just thought it'd be fun to share what these pictures are and what I went through. So I don't know. I think moving to Denver was a really exciting time too, and I can't wait to share about that. But before I left the Florida Keys, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff I didn't share. I mean, you know, I went to school there. I took Taekwondo class there. And it just seems like, you know, these visions have been just kind of happening all along, and I didn't know they were happening till I got older. I mean, it's just all right under my nose. But now that in hindsight, I look back on them, just like, oh, looking at where they tie in, you know, like seems like those first few years in Key West was really stressful. My parents were fighting a lot. And so I was going to Visionary State and had an imaginary boyfriend named Billy, who it's kind of a prophetic vision because he's a real person and, or, you know, he really exists, but doesn't, you know, he didn't participate in the scenario. So like, that's the weird thing about going to Visionary State. You're, you know, as, so I think what I was told is, everybody are just actors, you know, these aren't really, you know, it's not my mom and dad or anybody, you know, that I know. They're just like, that's what's kind of freaky about this. And this all kind of hit me like around 2000, that this had been happening all my life right under my nose. But you look where it ties in, and it's like, okay, my dad put my mom in the hospital in 1984. Let me see. So between 83 and 84, we had been listening to New Order, Power, Corruption, and Lies, and we were listening to Ultravox quite a bit. And so when I went into Visionary State, we were at Bill and Stella's house. These people my parents knew that lived on a Navy base. And when I went upstairs, their whole upstairs was different. And Bill Lieb was like a little bit younger than the first time I met him. Like he looked like he was more like 5, and it's like he had straight hair with bangs. I'm like, oh my God, he looks so different. And so he told me all this stuff. He had me look out the window, and I saw myself as an adult living in Montana, spinning my nunchucks and listening to Armin van Buuren on my headphones. And he said, and we even have it set up so you can hear the music. And so, and I have a video about this if you want to go back and find it. Billy showed me in probably 83, 84, what I would look like in 2010, spinning my nunchucks, listening to a CD player, by the way. And so that's really cool shit. You know, I think that's one of the coolest things. And when I heard that music, I thought, you know, it kind of reminds me of my dad's music. And I thought of New Order, and I thought of Ultravox. In fact, my mom came up here and lived a while, and when I played that same album for her, she said, this reminds me of Ultravox. I said, you know, funny thing, me too. So I cannot listen to that album or that song and not think about this vision stuff. So like now it's like it's my favorite Armin van Buuren album. And that one track, I can't listen to it without thinking about this stuff. So it's like, it's never going to go away. You know, this is really fascinating, but this was prepping me for my dad put my mom in the hospital probably, because this was showing me at the age of like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old, that I'm going to live to be an adult, you know. So I was in Montana in 2010, you know. It's like, don't worry, you're going to live, you know, because, you know, I was saying, seeing the way that stuff was going on growing up, it made me wonder, one of these days he's going to freak out and kill his whole family, you know, like these. And we've watched a lot of scary movies, you know, like The Shining, stuff like that, you know. And so, you know, by the way, Key West is a haunted place. And, you know, so like in the movie The Shining, you know, the guy had a disposition. He was kind of a grumpy pants. And when they went up to that hotel, he was the one that was negatively affected by the psychic activity in the building, where the child was kind of like, he could see things, that other people couldn't see, so I kind of feel a little bit like that child, and I'm the kid that sees things that other people don't see. So I've always been a different person, and like, something that they tell us in drug education when we're in school, they teach us about what happens when you take drugs, and they said, people that use LSD, it might change. I don't know if it changes them genetically, or if it carries over into their kids, so I've always been like a trippy person. And I was talking about like when I bumped my head when I was 5 and my dad was going, "Oh my God, we got to take you to the hospital." I was like 5 years old. I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, I thought he was talking about, because I just told him I bumped my head. I'm holding my head like this. And he was worried because my eyes were dilated. And I told him about this much later, like more recently even, that I didn't understand, like I remember bumping my head and him saying that, and he explained why. And so it made me realize those guys, when you're around people using LSD, you can get a contact high. So, that's where, I got to take into consideration all these different things, what's making me the way I am, like, why am I, going to visionary state and go through all this stuff? Well, some people say this happens as a side effect of, trauma, stress, like, but then there's Rosie, like, I'm not sure if hers is a side effect. Like, I think it maybe just be a side effect of being clairvoyant and reachable by the spiritual beings, maybe. That might be all it is. And, maybe, some of these things tie in a little bit, like, to some extent. So I was talking to a Hopi lady. I made friends down in Arizona with this really cool Hopi lady, and I explained it, and she goes, what I'm experiencing is akin to like going out of your body. Sometimes you go out of your body to escape the body you're in because you want to escape your circumstances. So it's a form of going out of your body. And then my Kung Fu teacher over here, the Asian dude, Sinte, and I've mentioned his book, when he goes to visionary state, he's like a female with this tiger going around. And he had a really traumatic upbringing, and so I think when he talked to his teacher down there, I mean, he'd seen some really wild stuff growing up in Indonesia, right? So otherwise, so we can look at it like this, but like I really think it boils down to is like, life wouldn't be so bad if, maybe I'm just different, maybe I'm autistic, or I don't know if I might be mentally delayed or anything like that, whatever it might be that makes me weird or whatever. I could be perfectly happy and healthy if people didn't fuck with me, so it's not so much like I was born crazy and like aggressive, or like I don't really see myself as dangerous, but like I'm a formidable person. I train martial arts. I'm a natural born fighter. My dad's side of the family are natural born fighters, but like but PTSD, like being around scary violence with the drinking and fighting or whatever. So no wonder, some of that stuff, it's kind of hard to like talk about that. I feel embarrassed, like I don't want to upset anyone, but it's like, it's just part of my story, that that really crucial stuff is what makes you scared for your life, and it's part of what made me want to learn how to be a good fighter and all this good stuff, so I don't feel like I was brought up to be a proper woman. I was brought up to be able to fight, and I should be going into the music business and not working all these stupid jack jobs, and but I just didn't have the right support. Like, so my grandma is kind of like the head of our family narcissistic system in a roundabout way, and she did not support me going into the music business. She really just wanted me to think about going to college and get a regular job, which isn't a bad idea. But so I started to go to college down there to take graphic design, and it just seemed like a big pain in the ass trying to be in college down there. So I went to Denver thinking, maybe I could do it up there. But I just feel like my grandma was a good lady. She did a lot of things to be helpful to her family, but there was just like, one little part. And this is what she was confronted with when she went into the she flatlined for 3 days, and they told her like if she was speaking to Jesus or whatever, before they put her back in her body, they said that she needs to learn not to be so judgmental. That was like the one thing they sent her back with. And so that's been kind of a hang up. Like I think that she was being judgmental towards my mom, Now my mom's fucked up a lot because of the drinking. That's where every time she has a drinking episode, then my grandma would be like, "See, I told you so." So my grandma's been kind of there. Maybe it was giving my dad grief, kind of making him regret marrying my mom. So kind of like fueling his anger towards the mistake he made was getting my mom pregnant, and according to my grandma, they had to get married because he got her pregnant, but my dad says it was the other way around, so I'm not really sure. But I'm getting the impression like, okay, so I was born by accident, and now my dad's upset because that made him obligated to stay with this woman, because that's just what we believed in. We didn't believe in having kids and breaking up like all these other weirdos, right? So I agree with that to some extent, but later on my grandma said she wonders if it would have been better to just let those people split up. So who knows? I mean, I believe in karma and everything. I was born to this family, and I was born to this music community for a good reason. So like, even if they, the birth control failed or it was an accident, I'm pretty sure I was born intentionally, at least on my own will, to come into this world and to take in all this stuff, and as an artist, and do something with it. See, so I feel like that's where I was really meant to be an artist all along, and that's why I think it's kind of a fun coincidence. Like my dad was saying, he may have been born the same year rock and roll was invented, and I may have been born the same year industrial music was being started up, and so we were meant to share these music influences, and we're part of a cultural revolution, and that comes from psychedelic substances. When to me, I feel like, the way white man lives, you look at how Indian people talk about the white man, how the white man live. We've put a crust over over our earth, We're standing on this dead crust. It's like we're putting scabs over our earth. We're not even connected to the earth anymore. We've become such an unnatural creature, We just like got ourselves blocked in with cement. The only thing that can help people in this culture, probably by discovering, and I hate to say it, by discovery of LSD, It's the only thing. And I think that really give people that third person perspective we needed to say, hey, wait a minute. As society's been growing and becoming what it is and ticking along to us, that's just normal. This is just how everything is, But when you look at life in a third person perspective, and you also get perspective from outsiders like the Indians or the natives, then you start to realize like what a phony culture we're in. Like it just seems like the discovery of some of the great things that we use today, electricity and all this stuff, and being able to manufacture things, that kind of created another dark age, So we've been coming out of a major dark age, and we've had a few, what you call a renaissance, right? And maybe there's another dark age and another renaissance. So the most recent dark age is when we've had the industrial age and the world wars, So those have created kind of a dark age that we're coming out of. And the renaissance has been the discovery of LSD, and people saying, hey, fuck this culture. It's all bullshit, And so to me, I feel like that's where people are in these music cultures, like they identify with their music scene, like, I'm a goth, I'm a punk, I'm a whatever you want to call yourself, So people identify with industrial music and whatever came next, and but I feel like they've lost sight of the original cause or purpose behind the Cultural Revolution was because the mainstream culture is kind of full of all kinds of engineering, trying to bring us up to be good workers, like the whole Rockefeller public school system, all that type of thing, That's what we don't need no education is about. It's not that we don't need an education. We don't need their education. Their education is fake and stuff like that. So I feel like this is where, and I'm talking about narcissism in our culture. Like, so we have gone through a stage of being woke, right? So that's when you're just like, you just getting woke by them. But that's not the same thing really as being awake, You're just like, you just now catching on that everything's fucked up. Like, Maybe you woke up to an alarm, you're just, ugh. But then once you like figure out why the alarm's going off, then you're going to be awake. And maybe you've had to have your breakfast and coffee, maybe smoke your bowl, whatever you do to get out of bed and start your day and clear out the shit in your eyes. Then you're awake. So we're not really awake until like, so we might be woke because we know something's wrong. But if we're still doing it, okay, so we're coming out of the dark ages, we're coming out of the slave and master relationship. So we know we're in a dominator culture. We're in a culture that is based on just overpowering other people. Like how you do it, we say, oh, kick your ass, So that's why, we call that a male dominator culture. That's where we're trying to like, well, we don't want to work like that anymore. That's not a good idea, because then just because somebody's more physically strong, we have to do what they say, and they might not be the smartest person around. So that's why everyone should be able to weigh in on decisions. Some people may have the gift of decision making, where other people have the gift of strength, So, but narcissism is kind of something that comes from like, you might be frustrated, and like, let's say we're taking a young guy and giving him a shift lead or manager position at the pizza shop, which I've seen happen, and they get really frustrated because people won't cooperate, so they just start getting mad, threatening people, So we might have experienced that. I've experienced that trying to teach kids class in Taekwondo, getting mad and yelling at people because they don't listen to me. So that's something like a lot of people might experience, or like me thinking I'm cool because I know about music that a lot of people don't know about. So I started feeling kind of proud about that, because I've been put down so much for being a nerd or whatever. But then I started realizing, man, I know about industrial music though. So I started letting it go to my head that I know so much about culture, So, but when you're a chronic narcissist, like you're somebody that's just so out of hand, like, you can't tell a person like this they're a narcissist, by the way. It's just going to make shit worse. But the narcissistic abuser, somebody that's just like they got a narcissistic personality disorder, they can be like a total dickhead. They can just, they're the person, they come in a room and they start just, talking down and, or, telling everybody that what they're into is stupid, and then you have the other opposite extreme. They could be like really cool and nice and everything. But then, you get sick of them because they're just such a big weenie, they're just like, they're so flaky all the time, and you start to figure out, oh, okay, so that's their little power trip, right? So like, kind of like, and I kind of suspect this of Bill Lieb a little bit, is his little power trip is, oh, you want something from me? Okay, sure, oh, you want to talk? Okay, we'll talk, sure, yeah, you just wait right here, we'll talk. And so I kind of feel like Bill Lieb's been kind of breadcrumbing me over the years. I'm not really sure. That's the word that I've learned from these videos. And I just thought that was really funny because it's kind of like, a lot of times people, they're in this position where people want something from them, or they're in the position of power, and they can be jerks about it sometimes. And like in his case, it's like, hey, I just really wish me and him could just sit down and just have a good eye-to-eye talk one of these days. And we just, it's been over 25 years and I still haven't been able to really get that, but I've been able to communicate to him. But he's just like, what did he tell me? He said, don't expect me to, much of a reply. I'm, just kind of like, he's a busy guy. He doesn't have time to talk really, but that type of thing, so that's always been kind of his excuse, but like, it's just like one of these things where like, okay, I could easily just, forget these people and stuff, but like, that's why I'm telling you about these visions. Like somebody says, man, these stories about you and this Billy guy, it just sounds awfully cringe. You might want to get professional help. It's like, yeah, I get that. That's why I'm telling you my story, because I want you to understand my side of it, because I know it makes me look stupid. It makes me look crazy. And that's why I want to tell you my story, because you see like exactly how it was carried out. Like if you see how things are played out, it's like, oh my God, like I feel like a lot of people that are pretty, intelligent or smart could have easily been tricked just like I was, so it's kind of like, I've just had a life where I just experienced a lot of weird little unfair things. In some ways, I'm super lucky. But, like life's not really fair to everybody. But I just feel like I get it extra for some reason. And it could have something to do with my artist nature, the type of spirit I am, the type of spirit guides I have, So in some ways, I've brought it on myself, the karma I have. But that's no excuse for other people that are jerks, you know. That doesn't mean it's okay for them to keep being jerks, even though I needed them to be in my life at that time to be a jerk, perhaps. But like from here on out, I don't want to tolerate it anymore. And that's where, like, I don't give a fuck if, like, Bill Lieb is a famous, hot, sexy rock star, or if he's the nice guy with the money, or the nice guy with the synthesizers. Like, if he's, you know, if he thinks I'm just some fat, ugly, stupid, crazy person, you know, what's the use of having someone like that around, you know? But like I've said, I mean, if he really likes me, maybe he's lying about it. Like, because think of all these women that have, you know, come down on me, right? Like, his wife came all the way from Canada to stop me from getting him in bed, or this other chick, like, she did all this stuff to, like create a fake website on a Facebook page, actually, to catch me, and it just really went off the handle. And it's just like, you know, it just seems to me like I said, you know, my dad used to say my mom was a big, fat, ugly, stupid piece of shit, you know? He still fucked her. In fact, they're together now, like, maybe not romantically, but he probably, you know, he's probably the one person in my life that loves me more than anyone else. He's probably the one person in her life that loves her more. But that's how he talks about her. And in a roundabout way, he might as well say that about me, because I'm her daughter, you know? You know, I'm probably, you know, and he used to come up and be like, hey, Jody, how'd you get so ugly? Ha! And I said, genetics, you know? But hey, you know, like, you know, he's calling me ugly because of my mom, because he's the good-looking one, you know? And that's where I get my good looks, right, from my dad's side of the family. And I kind of noticed I got my grandma's nose and my grandma's nose, my grandpa's eyes. I kind of got my grandma's ass, though. But, got my mom's chin. But yeah, it's kind of funny how that works, you know. So I really want to get across to people that maybe I'm not the problem by myself. Maybe it's not even my mental condition. And, you know, maybe it's not either of these people, you know, like none of these people. It's kind of not their fault. I mean, look at what they're brought out of, you know, like my dad, you know, his family. And I'm kind of wondering about Bill Lieb, too. I know he was brought up by his stepdad, was a veteran. I don't know if he'd been to war, if he'd only served in the army, but I think he defected from the Russian army. So I'm just thinking this guy was probably like really paranoid, right? And he probably taught Bill Lieb how to keep his mouth the fuck shut, right? Something I notice about Bill Lieb is he knows how to keep his mouth shut, unlike me. And that's probably something he doesn't like about me too. That's kind of the impression I'm getting off of the, you know, what his girlfriend would say is, you just go around telling your life story to everyone. Like, well, I've got nothing, you know. I just feel like, you know, everybody's life is interesting, and, you know, if my life is interesting, it's worth sharing. You know, it's not about me all alone, but hopefully I share some things people can relate to, like, you know, if you have similar problems or similar needs. Really, I think, you know, like I'm saying, I'm not the problem, you're not the problem. It's narcissism is the problem, and, you know, and if you can catch yourself and say, hey, you know, have I done any of these things, you know? You know, you can just stop doing them, you know, right? You know, some of the things I'm going to tell, you know, coming up in my stories, you know, I'll explain why I think it's narcissistic or whatever. And it's no big deal, but like, but it's just because, what it is somebody that has, they have some kind of self-confidence issue. Some people, it's like a false sense of strength. It's a false sense of pride, these type of things. When you run into narcissism, like, you know, Bill and his wife, there was a lot of insecurities there. That's why we had to deal with narcissistic bullshit. Instead of just being able to have a conversation, it would have been over 25 years ago. I wouldn't even be talking about it now. But that's how narcissism works. It keeps you wondering. You don't get your questions answered. You don't find your resolve. They try to find weird ways to, you know, be like, oh, you know, she's just making drama, you know. So that's another one, like Bill, oh, she's just making drama, you know. I think that's something Bill has said to a couple people about me, you know, I'm just making drama. And so when somebody's done you wrong and you're trying to confront them, they'll try to do all that. Oh, you're just making drama. I don't want to hear it. And gaslighting, like, you're the one that did this. And, like, other people don't take accountability. Like, okay, you know, people do things to provoke you, but then you react to it. Like his girlfriend, for example, she would talk so much shit and then tell me, you know, and you better not threaten me or we're calling the cops, right? Did everything she could to get me to threaten her. And then one day she finally lost her temper and ended up threatening me. And I just thought it was so funny because she ended up screaming, I'm going to come down to Montana and I'm going to slash your face. And here's the funny thing is that she had such a good time putting me down, and I found out later that she went and had that kind of cosmetic surgery where they get their lips made to go like this, like they're like, and then they get their eyebrows lifted. And to me, it looks like somebody punched them in their face, and their lips are swollen, their eyes are swollen. To me, I think that doesn't look sexy at all. And I'm just thinking, well, if she's so beautiful, why would she get that surgery, Now she looks like somebody beat her up. Only positive thing for me is now I don't have to kick her ass. It looks like she already got her ass kicked. Ha! At any rate, I just wanted to share another tidbit on my point of view, what I've been experiencing in my life, growing up, and then how it all comes down to, Jody, you're crazy. Well, you want to know what makes me crazy? Narcissistic manipulation. There's been all these stupid fucking narcissists in my life, and we can break it down like, okay, here's how I was brought up, like my grandma didn't really want my dad to marry my mom. Boom, it started there. And my dad was always kind of angry and fed up. He didn't like living in Key West. He didn't like his job, just everyone's annoying, and so being around someone like that drives you crazy, like you make them mad all the time, so people that are narcissistic like that, they drive people crazy. And then, then we like run into these other people here like Billy, but it's like a softer form of narcissism. But it in itself is, the person that's calling me crazy is kind of driving me crazy by saying it. And then, doing all this like breadcrumbing, but like, oh, sure, we'll talk. Yeah, just one of these days, I can't wait to talk to you again, blah, blah, blah. Just kind of lying to me. Like, okay, if you want to talk to me, then talk to me already, like, shit or get off the pot, buddy, just kidding. But you know what I'm saying? Just, I kind of feel like, okay, I did really want to reach out to the man and say, hey, this is me, this is what my story, and I just figure if he's cool as fuck, we could be friends, so maybe these people ain't cool as fuck, like I was saying, these people are high society, so I don't know, I think they're like intellectual, whatever, and I'm just this big fucking goof, but, so I've had to kind of work on this and resolve that. I really want to tell the rest of my story, and before, I pack up and move out, I really want to unveil the entire story of going to the visionary state leading up to how I got here and what I'm going to do next, because, this will also be a documentary if I start an art project and all that stuff. So, like, I can't wait to be able to make live videos or just, play music on Facebook, play music on YouTube like I see other people doing, and eventually use that as a vehicle to travel around the country and make more friends and make more connections. Maybe my life will be great, if I stay on that track and try to do music and make friends in music, and if I ever see Bill Lieber not again, I mean, it'd be nice if, everything comes together and we make friends, but at this point, I just feel like I might as well forget it. I just feel like there's no way in hell I'm ever going to see this man again. But at the same time, definitely, would appreciate it if I did have a chance to know him. Like I've said all this stuff on these videos. This is somebody I think I care about him even without having spent any significant amount of time with him and stuff like that. This person, it's kind of like my friend Rosie. Like if he was like Rosie, she's just always happy to see me. She just lets me be myself. If he was somebody like Rosie and he wanted me to come along, be around them, I don't know. So I'm just trying to clarify like exactly how I feel about the person, what I would do. But like I'm kind of getting the impression that this person could be somebody that, so I kind of feel like he wouldn't really like being around me, but at the same time I feel like he might have kind of a secret he's keeping, or else these wouldn't be attacking me. And so that's what I was getting at with like he's saying the same thing my dad used to say to my mom. In fact, the guy that knocked me up when I was 19 told other people he wouldn't touch me with a 10-foot pole after he fucked me. And I feel like, well, maybe Bill's going on the defense because, maybe at the time, I don't know if you can see these pictures, like when he first met me, I didn't have that haircut, but, I was a lot skinnier. I didn't have a fat chin. Okay, and that's what I look like around the time he met me in 98, but I had a different hairdo. I took all my hair and like, I don't know, teased it up. But I was really, you know, I was really into his band. You see that? I got his t-shirt on there. Got his t-shirt on there. I got his t-shirt on there, right? So I'm just saying, I was really listening to Frontline Assembly a lot in the 90s when I moved to Denver. At any rate, you know, that was different then. Who knows? Maybe the guy, you know, would have had sex with me if his wife wasn't there to stop him. And that's why he's been defending it by, you know, letting me be the scapegoat, by, you know, this type of thing. And then, but it seems to echo the past, you know, having to hear from his girlfriend. Bill Leap just thinks you're a fat, ugly, and stupid person. Not to mention crazy, right? I'm just a drama queen. So anyways, you think, you know, I'm getting the impression of myself, like all these things, then what the fuck would I have to live for? What do I really have to look forward to? And that's where you got to put this in perspective. Like, these people make me go, you know what? I would really like to get out of this fat, ugly, you know, painful, sluggish body, you know? I mean, it really puts negative thoughts in my head, you know? That's why I'm just wondering if this is a spiritual attack, like if there are any such thing as spiritual beings, or is this just human activity? This is how high psychology works. Okay, so this is the effect I get out of meeting Bill Leap. It's just, oh man, I would sure love to get out of this fat, ugly, stupid body. And, but, you know, I'm going to say that I've felt this way before. I mean, it just adds to it, you know, just feel like I was born in the wrong body. Not like I should have been a guy or anything. I'm not happy with the body I was given. I've been kind of put down for my appearance all my life. I've been called crazy all my life, like that, you know, I'm defective, I'm an undesirable woman, you know. So how do you live with that, you know? So you gotta say, well, gee, Jody, why are you so crazy? Well, how do you live with, you know, being such an undesirable person, you know? And so that's where, like, you know, Rosie was special to me because she's somebody that really helped me to see the worth in living. And so that's where I've come to the ideology that it's the people that are better off than you, they're going to lift you up, man. Those people that are better off than you are going to make you feel better about life. But the people that are not better off than you, like, okay, this person might be better off than me because he's got more money than I do. Or he might be better off than me because he knows more about music production than I do and all this type of thing. But if the only thing I get out of meeting these people is that it just makes me wish I could get out of this ugly, fat old body, you know, then they're not necessarily better off than me in that way. You know, I feel like the people that are beneath you bring you down, but the people that are better than you, they're the ones that are going to bring you up. So, like, for all those fuckers out there, like, I'm better than you, Jody, especially that ex-girlfriend. You think you're better than me, then why would you tell me to go kill myself, right? You're not better than me. You make me want to get out of this fat, ugly body. So, you know, that's part of what you have to learn to fight in life, you know, this type of conditioning. And where is it even coming from? Again, it's the culture we're in. It's narcissistic behavior that's every place. And the best way to solve your problems is to, number one, know that there is a problem. Like, you know, if you're going to be hit by something you can't see, there's not a whole lot you can stop that strike. But you see it coming, you're like, hey, it's narcissism. That's all it is. Then stop doing it. Okay? So learn what narcissism is. Ask yourself if you've been doing it. And knock it the fuck off. Alright. This is definitely the longest video I've ever done because this is probably one of the most important things we need to talk about is ending narcissism. The whole reason we even had a cultural revolution is to end narcissism, which is the root cause of the slave and master paradigm. And we're coming into, we are consistently moving towards anarchy. And anarchy might sound like a hardcore punk word, but it's not. It's a utopia where everyone knows your rights. You know what your rights are, you know what everyone else is right, and that we don't have to close the police department and all that. They'll just go out of business. Now, if we close the police department and all that now, that would be chaos. That's not anarchy. That would be gang violence, right? So anarchy is, I don't know, it's a good stretch goal, and we probably got a long, long way to go. But it all takes recognizing what narcissism is and knocking it the fuck off, because that's what makes people hate other people. Like, you see somebody coming, they're that narcissist, you're like, oh shit, here they come. So anyways, so reflecting on all the things that are ruining my life, you know, I have to forgive everybody who's contributed to ruining my life. But if all those people, anywhere we go, like no matter which person you are in my life, not everybody has it as much. Make sure you know what narcissism is so you can don't participate in it. And when you recognize it in other people, you recognize how to deal with it. Sometimes you can't change them. You just have to learn to move around it. Alright, so I've been learning to fight. Punches, pow, pow, pow. You know what? I hardly don't even need my martial arts. I feel like, you know what I've been needing to learn all these years is it's a form of mental manipulation that you need to learn to fight. You gotta make sure people can't mentally manipulate you, and it's very common. So, you know, that's why, you know, you forgive everybody like that. It's very common. And, you know, some of the people I'm talking about, I think my dad, for example, he's a very intellectual person, you know, and so sometimes, you know, when you weigh heavy into the intellectual side, it can make you a little colder. And so the spiritual side, like maybe the hippies back in the day, they were stupid hippies, you know. People have stupid spiritual beliefs because they don't apply their intellect. So you don't want to be one or the other. You want to be both, you know. You want to be intellectual, and you combine that with true spirituality, and that's what brings intelligence. All right, I have to get off. Oh my God, I went over 50 minutes. I've never done this before. You guys, I hope if there's anybody who listened to me this whole time, I appreciate you, because I'm pretty sure none of the narcissists in my life will listen to this. So I don't have to listen to their criticism of this later, because they're probably just going to ignore it anyways. Because again, another one of the things with narcissism, communication is futile. So fuck those niggas and all their bitches. All right, y'all. I'll talk to you next time.